Yo, it's VC, we back with another video. Yo, Midas Touch just dropped a new video and it's about Jasmine Crockett. Yes. You know, we have been doing so much Jasmine Crockett videos so far, and they just dropped a new video about Jasmine Crockett, so I'm so hyped. You know she gonna give the raw and the authentic. Y'all, let's get it.
It's curious to know, as we're talking about lawyers and the obligations of lawyers, and whether or not maybe the former president has any idea of what good lawyer obligations look like. I'm just gonna ask, we're not gonna play, we're gonna do Miss Winebanks. Have you heard of any of these lawyers? I've got Robert Cheeley, Kenneth Chesborough, Jeffrey Clark, Matthew DePerno, John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, Michael Farino, Rudy Giuliani, Julia Halia. I got a long list. Have you heard of any of these people?
I have.
Are you aware as to whether or not any of them have faced criminal penalties?
Yes, and also been disbarred or suspended.
Oh yeah, okay. So they've had some issues, but these are the hand-picked lawyers for Trump. I'm assuming that y'all have never been Trump lawyers, Mr. Trusty or Mr. Costello.
No, I was for a year.
Oh, you were, and you still have your bar card?
I'm sorry?
I don't know what's a better line. And you still have your bar card, or I hear you're free on Wednesdays?
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. Since then, he hadn't shown up for debates. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Sure.
Anyone want to start?
Coming at him crazy.
That's gotta hurt!
In today's edition of Walks Like a Cult, Talks Like a Cult, the MAGA contingent were out in force to disprove of any allegation that they are not working on behalf of the American people by making sure to leave their office in DC to go to New York, not at the will of their cult leader Donald Trump, but to represent the everyday American. And they did that by dressing exactly like Donald Trump and trying their very best to sound like him.
Speaker Johnson, did the former president ask you to go and defend him in New York today?
He did not. I went on my own volition. It was my idea.
And Willie, for the guy who's second in line to be president of the United States, this is really demeaning. It's demeaning for him to be craven, to go into that courthouse. If he doesn't think, and I've said I didn't think this trial should be, I don't think this trial should have been brought. I've always said that. All right, he could say that as Speaker of the House, but to be dragged into a courtroom in Manhattan, to be a sycophant to Donald Trump, a guy who was promised to be an authoritarian leader when he gets in power, really, it's deeply depressing, and it's beneath the dignity of the office.
All they were missing at this point was a comb over and a midday nap. But away from New York, back in DC where they're supposed to be, Democrats took turns exposing Trump's Project 2025 agenda. And standing out from the pack, as she usually does, was the Democrat from Texas, Jasmine Crockett. I mean, the Midas Mighty favorite came out swinging from the get-go with an absolute zinger aimed at former Trump lawyer.
And you still have your bar card?
I'm sorry?
Before going on to add substance, as she usually does, and highlight the clear and imminent threat of Trump's Project 2025 agenda, if he is to be given a second pop at fascism.
It's curious to know, as we're talking about lawyers and the obligations of lawyers, and whether or not maybe the former president has any idea of what good lawyer obligations look like. I'm just gonna ask, we're not gonna play, we're gonna do Miss Winebanks. Have you heard of any of these lawyers? I've got Robert Cheeley, Kenneth Chesborough, Jeffrey Clark, Matthew DePerno, John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, Michael Farino, Rudy Giuliani, Julia Halia. I got a long list. Have you heard of any of these people?
I have.
Are you aware as to whether or not any of them have faced criminal penalties?
Yes, and also been disbarred or suspended.
Oh yeah, okay. So they've had some issues, but these are the hand-picked lawyers for Trump. I'm assuming that y'all have never been Trump lawyers, Mr. Trusty or Mr. Costello.
No, I was for a year.
Oh, you were, and you still have your bar card?
I'm sorry?
You still have your bar card?
Yeah, well, unless I get targeted for daring to represent a former president.
You have absolutely done a lot better than most that deal with him. So Good for you.
As the Washington Post reported back in February, Trump's vocal plans for a second term are somewhat deliberately nebulous, akin to how he's handling the ramifications of his wildly conservative outlook on abortion. On the one hand, he's celebrating the overturning of Roe like it was his tenure, before then avoiding questions on whether he believes it's okay for states to monitor women's pregnancies, claiming that it's up to states, but states shouldn't go too far. But this murkiness is deliberate, as it provides a perfect smokescreen for those waiting in the wings to implement their medieval outlook across the board, to which Jasmine Crockett accurately pointed out.
Let's see, you're the executive director for the America First Legal, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And America First Legal is a member of Project 2025, which is dedicated to creating the playbook for the next conservative administration and what it calls the Project Pillars, correct?
We are proud contributors to Project 2025.
Okay. And are you familiar with Project 2025's mandate for leadership?
In fact, I am.
Okay. And in fact, you wrote some of the sections of this mandate related to the DOJ, correct?
Sure did.
And the mandate outlines policy priorities for the next conservative president. Is that correct?
It does.
You've done a great job. I just want to let you know. All right, so let's walk through some of the provisions of the mandate. It calls for eliminating the Department of Education, eliminating the Department of Commerce, deploying the military for the use of domestic law enforcement against protesters under the Insurrection Act of 1807. It also has the repealing of Schedule F status for thousands of federal employees to allow a president to replace career civil servants with unqualified partisan loyalists. That's probably my favorite of it. It also prohibits the FBI from combating the spread of misinformation and disinformation, like Russia and China, who are actively trying to interfere with American elections. I don't know why or how anybody can support Project 2025. And I know that there was allegedly a joke about dictators and whether or not that's funny, but in the United States of America, dictatorships are never funny. And Project 2025 is giving the playbook for authoritarianism as well as the next dictator to come in.
Think about it. In Trump's first bite at fascism, he was surrounded by, yes men in a way that would make sure to coddle his ego, but kind of discourage him from the whole let's bomb the cartel thing. But this time around, make no mistake, his yes men will be handpicked from the fringes of extremism and be elevated to positions of power where they can undoubtedly implement dangerous and damaging policy. The likes of Stephen Miller will be offered the opportunity to graduate from mouthpiece/advisor. And yes, this should worry anyone who claims to uphold democracy as the bedrock for a future worth fighting for. As MSNBC's Rachel Maddow perfectly explained, democracy doesn't die at the hands of Trump trying his darndest to dismantle it. It dies when you, me, everyday people refuse to participate in it because we're so discouraged.
There is a reason why the damage to the rule of law in our country, the damage to democracy in our country, which we have already started living with, there's a reason why it is coincident with a rise in authoritarianism around the world. And it's because we as a country are not immune to the same, pro-authoritarian, anti-democratic winds that blow through Europe and all over the rest of the world right now too. Our democracy is mortal too, just like every other democracy in history has ever been. Being real about the harm that has been done to us already, being clear-eyed about the fact that we can see some of these same dynamics at work in other countries, tuning into the fact that the right under Donald Trump is admiring of and openly emulating the way other countries have destroyed their democracies, recognizing they are willingly part of this project. That, to me, is energizing. I feel like that at least should put some steel in our spine, because it should tell us the part that we have to play here, right? It should at least give us real, grounded, practical expectations of where this is all going to go next and where our efforts are most needed to stand up for who we are. It should give us a clear sense of what we're going to need to defend and protect very soon, when the leader of our country's branch of this movement, sometime very soon, almost inevitably is going to break that court order again and is now, we know today, going to be ordered into a jail cell. He inevitably, very soon, is going to be ordered into jail. Because we are on the precipice of that happening, and all the freak out that's going to attend it is something that we should expect. We need to be ready. We are on the precipice of that next step in what has already been a very difficult time for us as a country. So heads up, this is no time to check out.
And that right there is where Trump and his band of MAGA misfits will flourish, with that immunity that he so desperately craves. Now, thankfully, on the other side of the political spectrum, there are those like Jasmine Crockett and Jamie Raskin who refuse to allow this to pass off as normal and will continue to call it out every single day.
The former governor was on the show shortly after he announced his Senate candidacy, and he pushed back against Democratic criticism on abortion. I want you to listen to what he said.
The one plugin that I want to showcase here is this bad boy. It's called the God Particle. The only thing that you
yourself described pro-life. You're really out of step with your
That's
blue
not
state.
true.
No?
Yeah, that's not really true at all,
Okay.
Dan. I have a long, very, very moderate position on abortion. This is
How would you describe it?
Look, I'm personally not a proponent of abortion, but I said I'm not going to take away that right for others to make that decision for themselves. I made this is a kind of a tired attack from the Democratic Party.
What's your reaction?
Well, he would like it to be a tired attack. Unfortunately, it's his political party that has made it a central issue in 2024. Donald Trump is bragging all over the country about how he appointed the Supreme Court justices who destroyed Roe versus Wade and have stolen away the rights of women all across the country. But we will be looking at the former governor's record, his actual record in Maryland, because a lot of us were in the legislature and we remember what he did. But the real question is, if and when you are elected to the U.S. Senate, will you stand with the Democratic majority to codify Roe versus Wade and to make Roe versus Wade the law of the land again, which is what the vast majority of the American people want? And Hogan has never said what he will do about it. And of course, he has to pander to the Trumpian base in order to get to where he wants to go. And the reason that they want him there is so he will be another brick in the wall of GOP support for a right-wing Trump agenda. Look, Marylanders know democracy's on the ballot. Freedom is on the ballot. This is a very high stakes election. We're in the fight of our lives here, and we're going to expose the real contrast and differences in the policy positions between these two candidates. And Angela Also Brooks was a great state attorney, a great prosecutor, a great county executive, and she will go to the U.S. Senate to fight for the pro-choice rights of America's women, for the voting rights of the American people, and for democracy against the Trump party of authoritarians.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the...
Oh Lord, that was a lot. It's a lot of information right there. Jasmine just don't, she don't be bullshitting. Jasmine don't be bullshitting, man. She went straight at that guy like she was not playing. Let's read these comments. God bless crimes of women. Crockett, Biden for a win, 2024. Trump for the wine, 2024. Is it Trump for prison? Man, it's just a lot, man. It's a lot to take in. We're gonna see what they do about Trump and this whole process, this whole court thing. I'm really enjoying like these Jasmine Crockett segments. I'm not gonna lie to you. Shout out to Midas Touch, man. Go ahead and like this video. I ain't gonna waste no time. I got way more videos to do, y'all. Make sure y'all like the video. If y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel. We just hit 10K. Let's hit 100K. I'm saying hit that notification bell so you get notified when I upload. I try to upload once or twice a day, maybe even 3 times. I love y'all. Peace and love, baby. And we out.